Conspiracy? More like cowspiracy. Yeah, I had no idea how to start the video. So recently I watched a documentary called Cowspiracy, which investigates the impact of animal agriculture on the Earth's environment. The film was really interesting and it really opened up my eyes to what happens around the world, and I really recommend that you do watch it yourself. Also, I found the film to be extremely credible due to the fact that they consulted many environmental agencies and sources. Despite the film's credibility, I do think it's worthwhile to examine the two big points made in the movie and analyze their legitimacy in reference to sources not used in the film, simply because I think it's most probable that the creators of the film were quite biased since the movie was made in order to promote veganism. First, let's look at what the Cowspiracy website has to say. Note: the amount of water used to produce 1 pound of beef vary greatly from 442 to 8,000 gallons. We choose to use in the film the widely cited conservative number of 2,500 gallons per pound of U.S. beef from Dr. George Borgstrom, chairman of Food Science and Human Nutrition Department of College of Agriculture and Natural Resources at Michigan State University, impact on demand for and quality of land and water. Also, the website lists all the sources they use, which are very in-depth, analytical, and for the most part credible. In fact, that's a common trend throughout the entire documentary. Now, regarding the numbers stated by Cowspiracy, there are some government studies found online which completely discredit it. The fact that states 2,000 gallons of water used for 1 pound of beef suggests the amount of water used for livestock is disproportionate to other uses in the country. Yet statistics as ones found in the USGS.gov show that Texas, which uses the most water out of any state for livestock, uses only 13% of water. Now, you might be thinking, well, the film might be completely wrong on this fact, but there is a crucial flaw in this government website. The website only takes into account for livestock water use, which is water associated with livestock watering, feedlots, dairy operations, and other on-farm needs. This definition does not take into account for the water used for the grain to feed the livestock. And worldwide, at least 50% of grain is used to feed livestock, which means a lot of water is used. Now let's look at the numbers. Cowspiracy says that 2,500 gallons of water are used per pound of beef, and beef lobbyists say that 441 gallons of water are used per pound of beef. Soy uses 257 gallons per 1 pound of yield, and cows convert 6 pounds of feed into 1 pound of grain. So, to make 1 pound of gain, there needs to be 1,542 gallons of water for 6 pounds of soy. But only 60 to 64% of the cow is eaten. So, we need to consider the 60%. 1,542 gallons of water would only make 9.6 ounces of meat. For 1 pound of meat, you would need 2,570 gallons of water. This 2,570 gallons of water is used just for the food, which is 10 times as much water for 1 pound of soy. In terms of water, it would be much more efficient just to raise the soy for consumption rather than having to feed it to the cow and then eat the beef. Also, this number fits into the bracket given by Cowspiracy. On top of this, you'd also have to factor in the water the livestock drink and the water used in processing. Now let's look at the extremely biased numbers from ExploreBeef.org, or the beef lobbyists. ExploreBeef.org states that 441 gallons of water are used for 1 pound of beef when taking into consideration water for animals, water for irrigation, water to grow crops, and water for processing. Yet that is still 3 times as much water than corn. But as just shown above, it does take a lot more than 441 gallons of water for just the cow's feed. So in reality, it does take a lot more than 2,500 gallons of water for 1 pound of beef. 18 to 51% of greenhouse gas emissions are from animal agriculture. The 18% is from the United Nations FAO in their 2006 paper, Livestock's Long Shadow. However, the FAO released a new paper titled Tackling Climate Change Through Livestock, which said the number was around 14.5%. The number was revised because the FAO considered the 18% statistic to be out of date. But the change is most likely biased, as the FAO formed partnerships with the International Dairy Federation and the International Meat Secretariat in 2012. The FAO released a new paper with the revisions the following year. The 51% is from the World Watch Report, which is funded by the International Finance Corporation, a part of the World Bank, and is not at all a vegan organization. However, even the biased low 14.5% is still a significant portion of the greenhouse gas emissions. So how do external sources check out with the information? Well, the Humane Society of the United States states that 37% of methane and 65% of nitrous oxide comes from the animal sector. But these statistics are extremely biased since they come from the Humane Society. So we'll examine another source. According to research from greenhouse gas emissions from dairy manure management, a review of field-based studies, animal agriculture is responsible for 20% of carbon dioxide emissions. This does not even include the other possible emitted greenhouse gases, which are methane and nitrous oxide. The authors of the study are Justine J. Owen and Wendy Silvers. Owen is a professor for geomorphology, geochemistry, and environmental science at the University of California, Berkeley. Silvers is a professor for ecology also at UC Berkeley. Neither of the professors are known to be affiliated with any vegan or meat lobbyists. They have no political agenda or personal agenda to push whatsoever. They work to publish valid information and findings in their respective fields. Even though it only takes into account for carbon dioxide, 20% is still a very high number, and it fits into the 18 to 51% statistic in Cowspiracy. All in all, these two main points analyzed are valid when analyzing them with outside sources not used in the film. The documentary Cowspiracy aims to reveal the sheer scale of environmental effects of the animal sector in this country and around the world. The central idea of vegans on this topic is clearly elucidated in the analysis of these 2 points. The animal industry is extremely wasteful and detrimental for the environment. Moreover, it is illogical for people to still consume meat since there is a more logical, eco-friendly alternative.